What's going on, guys? Hope y'all are doing well. We're gonna jump right into this video because I don't have too much time to record. Um, so, as you can read by the title of the video, we're basically going over my understanding of God. Now, for starters, I don't like to use the word God, mainly in my own references, but I use it depending who I'm talking to, and it's just the easiest method of understanding. But my belief is that, and I'm saying that outright in the beginning of this video, so there's no ifs, ands, or buts. If you don't agree, you don't have to. That's fine. It's just my understanding. We, so you have a general knowing of where I'm coming from. So, in my understanding of God, it's basically creation. We don't give it a form or anything because it is creation. God is literally everything. Why would it have a form in itself unless it is? Like, for example, us. God creates humans in his image, right? Genesis 1:27. But he also makes them male and female, both genders, specifically in different translations or different Bibles. I don't know what you call it, from like New English, whatever, King James. But all these editions say male and female. And that's important because that ties into a lot about the universe. For example, everything is relies on itself, kind of like yin and yang. So if you look at the symbol of yin and yang, it's literally white and black, and then it has sections of each other in itself. So portion of the black has white, and a portion of the white has black. So that being said, masculine and feminine energies literally need each other. The same way they need each other to exist, the same way light needs dark, up needs down, as within, so without. Everything is literally depending on its opposite. And that ties into later to this video. Everything has its opposite. So with that being said, I feel like God created us in his image with the ability to create, because if God is creation, he would make humans capable of creating, and which we are. It's a literal known fact in quantum physics. For example, if you study molecules that are moving in I forget what the exact what the test is, but they shoot ions or whatever through a slit, and when it's not being observed, it's completely random, and they can't figure out how something is shooting straight and ends up going through three different slits, right? And then once they put like a camera to observe the actual particles going through, they said, all right, I'm gonna follow actual laws now and go through one slit. It's like they react to observing, right? Because our brains literally control like the system. This entire matrix is programmed around our brains and what we can conceive. I truly believe the only reason we don't fly is because people aren't that adept yet. Like, it's basically collective consciousness. We form the belief that we can't, so it's just harder to. But yet you still hear monks who can levitate and all this. There is actual recordings of this one, I think priest or nun, who was just like possessed by God or whatever, started flying, healing people for a good bit. It wasn't long, but it happened. There's just crazy stuff to this world that is like mind altering. But back to the topic at hand. God uses literal two sides to everything, and that part of this video is what I can't stress enough, because what I really want to get into is working on your shadow, because we have pretty much two sides to us. I mean, it really doesn't matter who you're talking to. I personally feel like we all have something to share. That too. Something to share and something to hide. See how it works? You're always going to have something. Well, you might not have something to share, but if you do, there's also going to be a part of you that wants to hold something back, or you're not telling somebody just because it's not relevant, whatever. We always have something deep down within inside of us. And that could tie into things you're repressing, things you didn't realize were traumatic even, but they turned out that way and they're just being repressed, or just other sides of you that you know are there, but you're like, I'm gonna ignore it because I want to be a better side of myself. I want to stick to this one light, positive way of viewing myself, and that's how I'm gonna act out, right? But you can't just act in light. You have to experience darkness to know what light is. You feel me? So that being said, why it's so important to really embrace your shadow is because, I mean, a lot of people are doing it right now, and not in a good way. It's more so they're showing their whole ass. I mean, like whole demon stuff, and it's kind of like leaning one side more than the other. Alan Watts was saying that dealing with your shadow is something that everybody who's basically spiritual, or anybody really, should do if you're growing as a person, because it's kind of like splitting yourself in half. And when you do that, for example, all your demons that you're suppressing, they only get stronger. We all know once you ignore a problem, it only multiplies. Oh God. And that's how it is. So I'll give you an example. I'm loving, caring, so empathetic and all this, but I don't want to be a bother to people in a lot of ways. I'm very independent. I like to do stuff myself, unless it comes to my mom, because she's my caregiver since birth. Like, it's just instilled to me, like, if I need something, she's there. But there's also a part of me that can be selfish, and that selfish part of me, I was like, ooh, what if I'm asking too much? Ooh, what if this? What if this? What if that? People were saying I was spoiled because my parents were getting me stuff that they couldn't afford, like, and part of me thought that was too much. Not my fault. Absolutely not. But see, in my head, that works out in different ways because it's repressed and I don't think about it. But that leads to me not asking, hey, can I eat when I'm hungry? Hey, can I get that, like, basic things? But it's just little things that you don't think about. For example, aggression, anger. I had a lot of pent up rage towards my dad because of a whole bunch of traumas, really. But that being said, a coping mechanism I had was actually to, like, make up scenarios, kind of like anime TV shows, where I could just ragdoll, throw people around, cause scenarios, whatever. I was very imaginative. I still kind of, yeah, I still am. But the point of that was that I had an outlet, and I didn't really see how that was affecting me until I look at my patterns in my history. And I've always been, well, not always been, but I had a violent side to me. And that's honestly acceptable. It's all about how you use that energy, right? So, for example, now I treat it as aggression. I looked at my shadow and I realized I had certain problems, and it's an ongoing process. I'm not dead. We still have progress to go. As long as you're on this earth, you have something to learn. So I went through the process myself, and I started to realize that that aggression could actually be used for better purposes. For example, when I'm feeling lazy, I tell myself, hey, you're stronger than this. Get your ass up. Do something productive. Like, I can use that on myself, and more in a loving tone, for example. And that's how you start to blend the two. Because once you start demonizing one side of yourself, it's very polarizing. And it creates so many distortions, so many. It's like you're running from yourself, basically. And I'm starting to learn that qualities, basically, what you like in a person, it usually ties back to qualities you like in yourself. If you don't like a person, it's because they're mirroring stuff that you don't like about yourself. And if you don't realize you have or don't have those qualities, it can be very confusing because you're just like, oh, I don't like how that person is. And I've noticed many times that people will say something like, oh, I don't like them, they're too talkative, and yet they've been talking this entire time. Like, so it's very important to just study yourself. And that's why I say go within, because nobody's going to teach you about you. Nobody else can figure out your mind except you. And that's the whole fun part of this process. Even with all the crazy stuff in the world, like, these people are just walking around being controlled by their own demons. That's really all it is. I mean, the world, I'm not gonna lie, it's set up to be evil at this point. But the more you recognize that, the more you can actually make a difference into changing that and changing other people. Because the power is always with the people. It is literally in the Constitution. If the government's not working, we can overthrow it. If your brain's not working, why can't you overthrow that? I'm sorry if my chair is mad squeaky. I'm just realizing, but let's see. Like I was saying, you can't demonize it. It's something you have to accept. Um, Basically, like how Alan Watts was saying that um, sometimes you can be selfish. Sometimes you have to use that dark side of yourself and use it for good. It's kind of hard to explain in a way. Let me see. Had to do some push-ups, clear the mind. But the importance really lies in that sense of needing both sides. How God expresses Himself, masculine, feminine, light, darks, within, without. I forgot my reference. Like Alan Watts was saying, or something that I found was very interesting that he said, is that people who can actually come to blend the two, basically utilize both sides of them, the better and worse, darker parts of them, are basically looked at as like enigmas. They can't figure them out really, because they're either looked at as a saint or a sinner, like an angel or a devil. And one of the references he uses is Jesus. Like, he was saying, who knows how many people have been killed in Jesus' name, and yet he's supposed to be exalted as the perfect son, the savior to our entire species. He is also somebody who's followed the enlightenment path and honestly just got closer to himself and God. Everything is within. And the reason I explain God as creation is because I don't believe that we should glorify anything really. Because we're all creation. Like, this lighter is just as divine as I am. Maybe in less ways because he can't think or move. But I mean, it's still a part of the same system that I'm in. Like, I can touch it, it's still tangible. It can touch me, it can burn me. Like, we have effects on each other. And humans are actually in a lot way the same because we need each other. And I find it funny how everything ties together, honestly. But you can't have any part without the other. Everything ties in, everything is connected. And the more you look just about anywhere with that in mind, it's like pieces just start to come together. I think I'm gonna leave it at that and just wrap this up with some important notes to keep in mind when you're working with shadow, basically, to treat it as yourself because it is yourself. Don't treat it as a demon, treat it as a child. Nurture it. Like, there's a saying or a post that I read, basically. I walked into the depths of myself, hoping to find a demon crawling its way or making noise, ready to pounce on me. But instead, I found a crying kid begging for help. And that's pretty much what it is. You're ignoring a part of yourself, your own identity. And that really speaks out. It has a way of showing itself one way or the other. So it's always better to just face that head on. And it's not something you have to be afraid of because, again, it is you. There is no point or way of running away from yourself. It's always going to be there. And it's so liberating to actually not have anything to hide from anymore. Like, you just feel more complete and whole. And if you can accept like the darker sides of yourself, then honestly you don't have to make excuses for a lot of the things that you do or how you behave, because you know what you're doing, basically. Alright guys, that'll be it for this video. Hopefully I'll have more soon. Until then, take care, much love, stay safe, and I'll see you soon.